County, 89 zip codes, 17 cities, 39 communities, unincorporated areas, but now available online with a reach that extends across the country, nationally and internationally. You may download our app in the Google Apple Store, and you're able to follow us online and on social media. So we are very excited about being able to expand with our partnership here through Dr. Leonard Thompson. And if you'd like to join us tonight, you can do so by phone at 858 251 6111, or you can do so online at godradio1.com. We can take questions or comments if you have them, and we'll have an interesting time, I think, as we move forward this evening. Dr. Thompson.
Well, Dr. Warren, it's good to be here on another Wednesday night. We are less than 7 days to the election. So much is going on in and throughout the world, and we got a lot to talk about tonight. And so I'm ready to get it on and try to make sure that we get everything covered. I know there's still lots of questions out there, and we are still trying to make sure that we get everybody in position at the right time.
Well, we want to point out a couple of things as we go forth. Number one, and we're 6 days away. We are going to have a watch party at the Voice and Viewpoint offices next Tuesday, starting at 5 o'clock. It should go to about 10 or 11. And you can go to Eventbrite and sign up. There's not a cost for it, but we need to know how many people. Or you can call the office and sign up. And I know there are a number of different watch parties going on. What we're going to be doing is watching the returns. We start at 5 o'clock because at 5 o'clock here, it will be 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and that's when the polls will close. And we'll have a discussion period. We have refreshments there, and we'll have an opportunity to interact. And we know there are other events going on, so people will probably be in and out. But we invite you to join us and be a part of what we're planning to do. I think it's going to be an informative time.
Yes, and Dr. Warren, we're very fortunate to have with us the managing editor of the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint, Miss Latanya West. Good afternoon or good evening to you.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
We are blessed and highly favored, and they say that it is the year of the woman, and so this is the time where we're encouraging all the women to stand up. Dr. Warren and Miss West on last night on the BET, they had a men's forum. Did anybody pay attention or watch the men's forum?
Nah.
No, I missed that. Tell us about it.
Well, there were some men on there that kind of broke it down to why we should and must vote for Kamala Harris. But it was a good discussion, and I always say this, and for me, it's very rare or weird that we can have certain feelings about a woman running for a major office like this, and saying that we don't know if we can follow or lead or whatever. But our women have stood in the gap for us for years, and I'm challenging every African American male to step up and be a part of watching this young lady go forth and represent our country.
Well, we shouldn't even have that thought. You know, in all my political life, every campaign I ever had in the past 60 years, it was always a woman that was either the mastermind behind it or right there. Through all of my campaigns during a lifetime, my late wife and I campaigned together. When I was running, she was there. When she was running, I was there. And so it's very important. I want to point out, though, that not only is it the year of the woman, because I've found that the women are hard workers. They can multitask. Most men cannot. Now, Latanya is a perfect example of that in terms of each week, all that she does to make sure the paper comes together, interacting with staff, doing a number of other tasks at the same time, because there's so many things going on. And we have a kind of natural division of labor. So she might take a moment to say a word about where we are this week with the paper coming out tomorrow. I do know that we are hopeful that later in the program we might have Dr. Lachey Sharp Collins join us from the standpoint of her position with the County Board of Education as a community education specialist, which is separate and apart from her current run for the 79th State Assembly. So Latanya, just take a couple of minutes and highlight what you think are one or two of the most important things we're doing this week, either with news bites, which people can pull up right now, or in print when stuff comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, so much. And this is our last issue before the election. So just as a reminder to those listening that we do have the voting guide in there with information on the propositions, ballot locations, drop-off locations, and voting centers, and an endorsement guide. Of course, everyone makes their own choices based on their research, but that's going to definitely be in our paper this coming week, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, newsstands. And we have some interesting articles on the cover, local perspectives on the black male vote. That's going to be a really interesting read. I highly encourage everyone to pick that up and read that. And some information about the police department, right, Dr. Warren?
Yes. And we didn't even have time to go into all of that one, but we want
Yeah.
people to know that the folks are still voting. Today, my wife, I took her out to the register of voters because she wanted to hand her vote in. And it was a very moving experience to see that it wasn't enough to just get there. She didn't want a drop box. She wanted to park and walk across that parking lot and go in the building and go up to the counter and hand that ballot to the man on the other side. Okay? And it reminded me so much of the value that people that put on the vote who understood what it cost in terms of what we have. And so she insisted I take some pictures of her and the recipient on the other side getting the ballot and the whole thing, and then she walked out. Now I'm content. Well, we could have dropped them in the mailbox, but I knew she wanted that experience of that walk, that I know my votes counted because of what I did. And there are a lot of people doing that. The numbers that have voted are just phenomenal. Over 50 million Americans have voted so far, and people are still doing so. And so I'm excited. One of the things, I don't want us to be over cautionary reacting to, that element that's burning drop boxes and blowing up stuff and people making threats about what's going to happen if she wins. I want to send a message out to folks in America that we are more than prepared for anything that a certain element tries to do in terms of post-election. And I say that from my experience as a former military police officer and knowing the training and knowing that we will never be caught again as unprepared as we were for January 6th. And so a lot of steps have been taken. If you look in Arizona, they have really gone all out because they had people showing up with weapons and everything. Last time they put gates around, they have increased the guards and the law enforcement presence and everything. And so a lot is being done, and it just shows a fear factor on the part of the other side. But it's so critical because if you look at what's been said, like RFK Jr. yesterday talking about how he would abolish Head Start, he would abolish the Department of Health and Human Services, and he would cancel vaccines, and all of this is right out of the 2025 Project 2025 playbook. And the one thing we can do to cancel it, they are suggesting that if, for instance, Kamala wins Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, she'll be well on her way. And so, and we saw this Trump Supreme Court today do what we knew they would do. That situation that occurred where ballots where they were purging voters, and the lower court objected and said you got to count it because you're violating the 90-day rule that the Justice Department had established. Today, the Supreme Court, 6-3, said, yeah, go ahead, continue to purge, and if any Americans are on the list, then they have time to re-register, which is all designed to frustrate and slow the process down. And so we know what's going on, but at the same time, we have it in our power. If we turn out by the wave, if we put the wave there, we can make the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, Latanya, what do you think the women of America, will stand strong and their numbers will be strong for Kamala, or do you just think it's a black woman and Latino women that are going to stand strong with
Oh,
tomorrow.
definitely not just a woman of
Comments,
color
yeah.
thing at all. I think the abortion issue is huge for women all over the country, no matter what they may say in public. If they, if their friends, family, husbands, boyfriends towards Republican or Trump supporter, I'd be really surprised at the end of this whole thing, more women did not vote for Kamala just based on that, because there's just no way women are going to stand for the government being involved. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think that you might want to check and see if your pods are charged because
Oh, yeah.
they're really staticky. So you might
Oh,
want
let
to
me
just
just
take
take them
one.
out.
All right. Can we hear you now? Yeah, very. Now you're very tinny.
Yeah, you're real low.
Uh, so
Louder.
this is
Yeah.
what you can do. You can charge one. You can charge one and keep one, and then when the other one's charged,
So
you
they're
can.
charged. I see 98 cents. So they're charged.
Okay.
It might be my connection. I don't know.
Okay.
But can you hear me okay enough for me to talk though?
Yeah, we'll go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that I just cannot imagine women across this country allowing that Supreme Court ruling to stand. It's just ridiculous. There's just no way that a man, any men in this country would stand for the government being so involved in what happens with their bodies. It would not happen. So it's just an outrage. And I just really think that all women are going to come out in support of Kamala just on that issue, if not others, because
Yeah.
she stands for so much more.
And I think that really the issue for most people is not about abortion. To me, the issue is about a woman's right to have say-so over her body.
Exactly.
A lot of times people
That's
want to
it.
focus strictly on, well, it's about abortion, but no, it's really women were saying, you're not going to tell me what I can do with my body. Because
Exactly. And it's not between anybody but God and that woman to make that decision. For anyone to suggest otherwise is just
Well, we have to be
beyond
very
beyond.
careful with this over the next 6 days, this particular issue, because this is what defeated, what's her name in Georgia when she was running for governor. She spent more time on this issue in her campaign than she did on the bread and butter issues. And the one thing that's come out even today, the all of the consumer and policy advisory boards, everyone is showing the numbers that this country is up economically. It's up in terms of GDP. It's been up every month. And so the falsehood that's being spread is taking hold because people haven't seen the drop that they want to see in terms of food or gas. But those price increases are connected to the recovery coming out of the pandemic. And so prices are beginning to go down, and they will. But the solution is not to throw Donald Trump in there because they've already run the numbers and said that while Kamala Harris's agenda might increase the national debt by 5.3 trillion, by $3 trillion over the 4-year period, and she always uses the term her first administration, making it clear she plans to run a second time. Trump is already at 5.8, and all he's doing is giving money away to help other people. And so we need to understand that Trump is not the issue, no matter how crazy he is in the next 6 days. He is only the mouthpiece distraction. We need to look at the down ballot in terms of who we're sending back to Congress, who we're sending to the Senate, what's happening in the states. It was a candidate in Arizona today who took the Mule Pack Trail down the Grand Canyon to the bottom to meet with the Indians that live at the base of the canyon because he knows that they vote, okay? And they got issues because they're concerned about the uranium efforts that people coming, messing with the aqua, which is the water supply that sustain them down at the bottom of. There's only 2 ways to get down in the canyon. Either it's an 8-mile trek down that narrow mule path or by helicopter. And those are only 2 ways to get down there in terms of it. And I know I've had an opportunity to go down. I refuse to do it. I aren't that interested in finding out how they live at the base. I can just read about it. I don't want to go down there. So we got all of this happening right now, and we need to stay focused on getting those issues. You could mention him, but we can't be distracted with the garbage truck scene and all of those. And I think the one thing Joe Biden can do for the next 6 days is just be quiet.
I know.
He
I
just needs to
know. He
not
kind of
say
made it difficult
anything.
for
If he
her.
can be quiet for 6 days,
Wait a minute. What's going on with Joe? Y'all don't want Joe to talk?
No,
What,
no,
what
we
did Joe
don't.
do?
No, he kind of threw a little wrench in it for her. Was it
when he's
today
tried
that
to
she had?
respond to the garbage comment, the
Yeah.
reality, this is going to sound tough. We love you, Joe, but you need to go to Camp David and stay the next Wednesday. Okay? Just go and hang out at the camp and just take a working recess there. Don't talk to Israel. Don't make any more statements about the bombing and the weapons and the stuff. Just be quiet until next Wednesday morning. So if we can get 7 days out of him, it will help us very much, because anything he says is going to be used against us, and he's going to be trying to clean it up, and then she's going to be trying to distance herself, and she doesn't need that distraction right now.
No, but I thought she did a good job of shutting
She
it down
did.
pretty quick.
She did.
You
She
know.
did an excellent job.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we are now less than a week away. Miss West, what's the strategy? You're a woman. You're an influencer. What are you saying to your friends? What are you saying to your colleagues? What are you saying to the power structures of your realm in this thing?
We're just all standing in prayer, to be honest. Standing in prayer and just trying to keep our heads above all of the crazy that's going on. We're coming out of whose mouth and his supporters, and yeah, that's really the bottom line with that. And we're all voting, obviously, but we're gonna have, I believe, online in the next few days, tips on your voting plan. So everyone needs to think about that. If you haven't voted already, what's your plan? We've got the ballot locations, ballot drop box locations, and the voting centers in the paper. So there's no reason for you to not know where to go. We've got it online as
And
well.
we're
So what's the
reminding
plan?
people that even if you're homeless, you can still vote. Okay, that's
Exactly.
crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have an article about that online and a video as well. So we've got the information out there. So how are you going to get to the drop box? Who are you going to go with? What day? Things of that nature. So, yeah, but I think prayer is key. I can say that. I said that when he was nominated in 2016. I'm like, okay, we all need to start praying right now. But for real, get that prayer going and just standing in faith that she's going to win. But we got to get the vote out for sure.
Okay. So Dr. Warren, you mentioned about even if you're homeless, you can vote. Let's talk about some other marginalized people in throughout the cities that might think they can't vote. Who could they be, and how can they find out, their eligibility?
Well, I don't know who the other people are, because you got homeless people, and that's the biggest part of the population out there that needs to count. We've passed the point where people can do mail-ins. So at this point, if you show up at a voting site and you get the paper and you look at it, then you can go to that site and you can indicate that you would like to register and that you want to vote. And what they will do is let you vote a provisional ballot, which means that the ballot will be sealed. Nobody will look at it. It'll go in an envelope after you mark it. A registration card for you is there. And later, when those counts are done, then that's when they will determine if you qualify, because citizenship is an issue. There is the questions of identity. And of course, the Trump people are trying to swear that everybody who has a driver's license is not a citizen, and the people are voting. And we have to avoid the distractions, because investigations of all those issues have turned up that they're negative.
So what about people that might have been incarcerated? Who can vote? Who can't?
They can vote. In California, they can vote. If you formally incarcerated and you out, you can vote. And so this is the important thing. And Dr. Weber took care of that years ago when she was in the assembly. So we need people to understand that if you don't vote, we will know that you didn't vote, because even though we won't know who you voted for, we will know whether or not you voted. All right, and whether or not you vote is going to determine the quality of life you're going to have for the next 4 years. So if you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain about anything. from lack of food to shelter to medical treatment, whatever your problems, you deserve them if you didn't vote, because this is the time.
Well,
And we got a couple other issues in terms of time, but I just wanted to get that one out.
yeah, Dr.
Can
One
I
of the
also
things
just
that,
say really quickly too that also they know by race, right? Race and gender if you voted or not. So if black people don't come out and vote en masse or in a significant number, then why would they pay attention to our interests and our issues if we're showing that we're low voter turnout? So,
yeah.
you know, that's to be considered as well.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we want to do is continue to encourage you that we still have time. Tell your friends, get your mama, them, your cousins, everybody. Make sure that everybody is letting their voice be heard, and having an educated voice as well as having a voice by voting. Dr. Warren, so many other things that we have to cover today. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
one of the things I want to mention, which is more of a local issue, is a few days ago, some members of the southeastern community met with Larry Turner, who is running against Todd Gloria for mayor. And these four individuals decided that they are going to support Larry Turner. Well, Larry Turner's campaign turns around and puts out a press release indicating that he had been endorsed by key leaders of the southeastern community, and they were empowering him to bring an agenda that was going to be different in the whole bit. I have an editorial which starts on the front page, which makes it very clear that, first of all, there are no four people that represent a whole section of our city. And I make the observation that the Voice and Viewpoint has never said that it speaks for Southeastern or any other part of San Diego. We give observations, and our readership and community is countywide and now beyond the county. So there's no such thing as one or two people in the old days, as they did, standing up, taking pictures with somebody who's running, and then that person running out like Turner's people did and publishing that as if he's just received a major endorsement. I made it very clear that's not what happened. He didn't get an endorsement. He got the endorsement of four people. And without getting, I don't mind naming them if I have to, but I'm giving them grace and mercy. Okay? And I'm sure if they come back and want to fight over this, then we'll have to just put it all out there.
It's okay.
All right, let's move.
Yeah, one of the things that we do want to say is that during the political season, what we have to be very careful of are the quick sound bites and the things that sound really, really big. You know, we can go up there and say, "Oh, Dr. Warren, you know what? I got a brand new car, you know, and it's a Mercedes." Well, let's just evaluate that. It's new to me, but it was bought and originated in 1971. But it's new to me, and I'm excited about my new car, but it's not the actual new car of this model. So when people come out with these grand endorsements at the last minute, we need them to be very specific. This list, like we used to do back in the day, this is who I got supported by.
Well,
not the whole
Dr. Thompson,
community.
you're just too kind, okay? Because these people knew exactly what they were doing. They meant to mislead people. They've done it before, and I'm just not going to let it happen. And I'm going to be on this like white on rice right through the closing of the polls next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. I'm not going to let people get out there and start telling lies about who they represent. And at the end of the day, they only represent themselves when they mark that ballot. And we offered a voter's guide with yes or no opportunities, but with the pros and cons. And we only said these are our suggestions. We didn't try to drive people to vote for anyone, because those are important personal choices. And so I wanted to put that out there. We need to be about the voting business now, folks. We don't need to wait till Tuesday morning and look outside and see if it's cloudy and whether or not I should go. If somebody was giving away money, you would go out there even if it was a storm. And so, yeah, let's just deal with it.
I think that they should go on Saturday when they say it's gonna rain, so you can really tell your story. I went through the storm and the rain
Yeah,
to
you can
get
really-
my vote cast, and
Yeah.
I am here, and I sacrificed it.
Yeah.
And then somebody sit up there and said, "Oh, you mean the drizzle that y'all had?"
So
Yeah.
the thing about being in California, we're so fortunate because it's so easy for us to vote. When you look at these other states and these other municipalities where they round the clock. We don't have that here. And it's just so, we're so fortunate. So, it
Well,
doesn't take
we're
that
so
much.
fortunate that it's dangerous,
I
because this
know.
whole idea of voting sites in people's garages and everything. I've made the observation before that when South Africa held the first election to elect Mandela, their first election during that time, in the whole country, they had 1,200 polling sites, and the people turned out in mass voting. During that same time frame, because I was running for office here in San Diego, either for the state assembly, I believe, that was before I ran for the Senate. But San Diego had over 1,200 polling sites here. That's ridiculous. And so they've made it so easy. Now it's so much better because when you sign your ballot, you can track it electronically right to its being received and posted. And so there's no excuse right now. And I think more people are going to be hesitant nationally about the drop boxes based on what's happening because people are
Yeah.
attacking the drop boxes. So just take it to a poll and turn it in, and make sure, like my wife insisted today, no, I'm not putting it in a drop box. I'm not putting it in the mail. I'm handing it to them. Well, everybody doesn't have that opportunity, but most of our older voters want to do that because they remember what we went through to get the right to vote. And I hope that we can encourage the younger element to do likewise.
So, Dr.
And
Warren,
like you said,
well,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and like you said, Dr. Warren, it's an indication of the fear. They're running a little scared if they're going to go to such extremes to bomb a
Oh,
drop
yeah,
box. I mean, that just shows they're just scared.
that's what it is.
Cowards.
So,
Yeah.
so let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Changing subjects, the election is very important. And one of the things that was said for the Black Male Summit is that they said that Donald Trump is talking about making the police department totally immune from everything. And that for African Americans will be an open season to basically brutalize and kill African American men especially. With that being said, something that's recently happened, I don't know if we're going to talk about it tonight, but my wife said, who the 619 Media? Because 619 Media came up with some video footage of an arrest or a brutality. Are we talking about that tonight?
We're talking about the Marcus Evans arrest scenario, and what makes it so significant is a front page story tomorrow, and it's already online. Is that
Hmm.
when Tasha Williamson raised the question, a police officer named John Cochran picked up the ball, and he filed a formal complaint with the department on charges of misconduct based on the officers that were involved in tasing Mr. Evans, who, from all indications, the man is without shoes. He's got his hands up. He's doing everything to comply with them, and then he's being brutalized in terms of this process. And the people who shot the footage, they are to the police department what Getty is to mainstream media. And so many times things are happening, and you'll see a photo, AP or wherever, and you'll see Getty because those pictures have been licensed by Getty for them. And if you use Getty's product without licensing, I don't care who you are, you're going to be in court in a heartbeat because they're serious. So we bought the rights to put the video up because their whole purpose is to follow the police in terms of documenting this stuff. And we now have that video online. And while we tell the story, because the officer who wrote it, Officer Cochran, he cites each violation of policy, police policy, and you can see the video. And it is a phenomenal telltale scenario. And I think it's going to go a long ways. And I don't know, Tanya, if our social media analyst has given us any data yet, because
No.
we track all of our social media stuff on a 24-hour scale, and we know who's looking at what. So this is online right away, and then it's in print for those who are not online but who are picking up the paper, and they'll see it tomorrow.
Very
So,
disturbing video.
so
Yeah.
it's disturbing, and he filed a complaint do we think we're going to have movement?
No, he didn't file a complaint. A complaint was filed
Okay.
by a police officer on how he was treated. That's the significant thing.
Okay.
And the chief of police is well aware, and they are all following it. They have to follow procedure in terms of the investigation. Tasha Williamson's first recommendation was that the officers involved should be pulled off the street and given desk duty, if not being administrative leave while this investigation is taking place. And it's very significant for an officer to do what Officer Cochran did, to take the time to document the misconduct of a colleague. You know, most of us, well, some of us are too young, but Al Pacino many years ago did a movie called Serpico. And Serpico was a true story based on a police officer who did not go along with the program in terms of police misconduct. I believe it was in New York. And there were many efforts to try and kill him from internally. We've had a situation in New Orleans of a woman, a black woman who was a police officer following Katrina with all of the corruption and stuff taking place. And she spoke out, and they came after her, but they came after the wrong person, because girlfriend met fire with fire, and when she finished shooting back, they abandoned the idea of trying to put a hit on her in terms of contracting us. So it's very significant because the old boys club runs deep, but it's encouraging that we have someone that will speak up and that we're looking more closely at these situations.
How do we think that he is being treated now that he has done that? Has he been ostracized? Is the chief of police coming out saying that, you know, this is what we need? Is there anything saying in a positive realm, or is this everybody sitting back saying it's a shame?
Well, I'm not at liberty to say all that I know about it right now, but let me just say that Officer Cochran, known to many as Johnny Cochran, he'd been there a very long time. I had an encounter with him about 10 years ago. I thought he was absolutely crazy, but that makes it even more significant that he has gone through the trouble of challenging the system. He's not afraid of the system, okay? And he's got enough time in the system to go home if he wants to. So he's no rookie, and everybody knows who he is, and so this is
What's his ethnicity?
He's black.
Oh, okay.
He's black, yeah. And
and the fact that he breaks down the alternative the actions that the people on the scene, that the cops on the scene could have chosen, is really significant as well. And he states the code.
Oh yeah, he
everything,
states
so it's very
everything.
educational.
Why their conduct was wrong, and what the law says was permissible, and how it's documented, and the film backs it up. So, you know, internal affairs got to look at it. The POA is going to jump up. There'll be hearings, but this is going to be a ground testing case, because I don't think we've ever had anything like it before. We've had complaints, we've had citizen video, but we've never had a situation where you had a third party, which is what the 69 media people are, documenting something and that's not directly involved. It's like using Getty film. So it's gonna be significant.
And so this is online currently right now.
Yes.
Tomorrow being full blown, where you can see the video.
You can see the video now. It's been
You can see it
online
now.
since yesterday,
and it's
right?
on my front page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me just point out too that this is not an issue that would have gone yet to the district attorney, because the San Diego police, their first stop is the city attorney, and the city attorney has to look at it and investigate it in the whole bit. I was sharing from personal experience, having been in the city attorney's office, how some of this goes. But I think at this point is best to let's wait and let it play out. I don't want to start saying anything that might interfere with what's going on. But I think all we need to do is watch closely.
Okay.
So it's online and on our front page.
Right, for tomorrow.
Okay. What's next, Dr. Warren?
Well, you know, the campaign thing is heating up locally. We still got some city council seats up. We got Whitburn running. Again, we got Sean Elo Rivera in District 9 running. In terms of the city council, we've got the provision on the ballot that's going to strengthen the ethics commission in terms of what they're doing. And one of the front page stories we have is a story where Chida Warren Darby, who is the director of boards and commissions, and disclaimer, one of my favorite daughters, she is pictured with the mayor signing into law a policy for the first time that will provide a code of ethics for the conduct of members of boards and commissions, which didn't exist. And I think that it took 2 years to get this done, and I think that's very significant that it comes at the same time that the Ethics Commission is being given some independence and power on the ballot in terms of how we go forward. So that's going to be significant. We still got 2 seats on the Board of Supervisors. We have a real run in District 3 between Tara Lawson-Remer and Kevin Faulkner, and I hope people will vote for Tara Lawson-Remer and let Kevin Faulkner stay at home. I don't think he needs to be in a position, again, of any power and responsibility. He's a Republican. We have 2 other Republicans. Joel Anderson from East County is running. I think Joel has proven to be helpful in spite of his party affiliation. And so Desmond from the North is not there. But, those 2, if we got Faulkner, that would give the swing, although it's nonpartisan, that would swing the majority control to the Republicans. So Nora Vargas is on the ballot. We've endorsed Nora, as we have endorsed Tara Lawson-Remer, as we have endorsed Joel Anderson. So that's 3 people that we have endorsed there. And 3 out of the 5 is what makes the difference. And so Monica is not involved in that, and she's new and she's finishing out a term. So those things are important. If we go to Lemon Grove, we got Raquel Vasquez seeking another term, a 3rd term as mayor. We got a couple of strange people running against her, and it looks like that she can pull it off, even though she doesn't seem to appreciate the support that she's receiving. But we still are in support there. And so in a national city, I think Chula Vista, we have Tanya Williams is running for, I think, the Board of Education in one of those communities down there. And we have Brenda Miller in Grossmont running. Yes. We got all of these different people. We've looked closely at the people of color and checked their track record and background. We're not just voting for folks because they're black. We're voting for a number of people who are Latina, which is clear by some of the names that I've mentioned here. And so people are looking at what we're putting there, and it's turning out to be very helpful.
One of the things, and Tanya, I don't know if you paid attention to it or Dr. Warren, but it seems like there's no interest in San Diego Unified School District. Almost everybody's running unopposed. And that is amazing to me, that in this time and in this climate and so much going on, that trustees are running totally unopposed. Nobody is seeking those seats.
Well, it could be a variety of reasons for that. Okay, first of all, the school board is in the school district in great financial difficulty, over $100 million at this point. I did talk very closely to Dr. Sharon Whitehurst Payne and others about the people running, because we didn't just want to endorse people carte blanche. I did the same thing in terms of investigating the people running at the County Board of Education, because the County Board of Education is over the 42 school districts that are in San Diego County, and it's a much broader picture in terms of it. And so there are seasons when people get concerned about education, and there are seasons when they're not. There's so many. This is a major election period, having been a school board member and on ballots many times, it's just not as important right now in terms of what's going on. And so that's going to be a problem, because the student population is dropping, which that drops, then the interest drops. And the big concern gets to be whether or not we're going to be laying people off where the unions get involved. So we have all of those factors at work right now.
Yeah, and I'm very interested in the current superintendent that is the interim, that she called for a forensic audit. And I think that after the election period is over, we need to go back and visit that. because I do believe that Santa Unified School District should have a forensic audit, but I think it needs to go all the way back to Cindy Martin. That is where, as a
Hmm.
former school board or person that worked for the school district, the problem started with Cindy Martin's regime, and the forensic audit needs to go all the way back there. That's when you will find the true bones, the true causes, and you will find out the improprieties, the embezzlement, and everything else that was taking place. So don't just do a forensic audit on the current administration that just passed.
And we
because
have to
that's the fallout.
insist.
Yeah.
We have to insist on what you're
Exactly.
saying because the interim superintendent is not squeaky clean herself, I understand.
And that's the reason why she doesn't want the forensic audit to go past this current administration.
And you're too kind.
It needs to go back.
Yes, and you're
It
too
needs to go
kind.
back.
Yes, it will go back. We're not giving her a pass just because she got there and she can smile.
Yeah.
So it's got to go all the way.
Yeah, and we really need to look at the impact, and I want to say this real straight, the impact that Richard Barrera has done to the school district over his many years as president, board member, and things of that nature. A lot of the things that we're seeing that have taken place, a lot of the superintendents that were selected, Richard Barrera was behind it because he's labor.
Well, Richard Barrera has never been our friend, okay? And I just like to remind us that some 7 or 8 or maybe 10 years ago, I can't remember exactly, before the pandemic, we had him come out to Black Men United one morning, okay? And you might remember how he told us that the black community was no longer a concern, that his only concern was the Latina community because that was a community that had the numbers that was growing, and that was the future of the school district. So in effect, forget us. And he was bold enough to say that. I'm surprised we let him out the building, but we did.
And he has held true to that belief.
Yes, he has.
You know, and those are the kind of things that we have to hold people accountable and not let them to stay in office and continue to make this impact on all of our communities, just not black communities, but in communities
Yes.
in general, because the reality comes in, you know, black, white, purple, or green. I just want to know, are you going to do what's right by, you know, our children, what's right by our community, not because we're friends. And there's been a lot of nepotism, buddyisms, and everything else that have placed people in positions knowing that they were not qualified or knowing that they were being set up for failure.
It's called the Peter Principle.
Yeah.
And that's what they followed. Just, Cindy Martin was a perfect example. You take somebody who's a principal and make them superintendent. You don't know what they're doing, but you know they're going to follow the advice and the instructions of that little handful of people that are pulling the strings.
Yeah.
And so meanwhile, the kids are the ones that suffer.
All right. Well, Dr. Warren, we're closely getting to the end of our show. I want to make sure that we cover all the topics that you have. I know that you said, hey, we got a lot to cover today.
Yeah, well, we do have a lot to cover because, it's very interesting that last weekend there was a meeting of the California NAACP. They held a state convention in L.A. at the Marriott at the airport there. And I find it very interesting that the NAACP, unlike in days past when it tried to have a real connection with the community, okay, it doesn't seem to be concerned about that anymore. You know, when I first met my late wife, Jerry, she was president of the NAACP here. And she was working hard against all kinds of obstacles because it was her efforts that got a number of judges on the bench. There was all kind of police violence against people going on there with threats made on her life. And I remember they brought Richard Hatcher out from Indiana to be the keynote speaker. It was 2 weeks before an election I was up against in D.C., but I flew in here to be here for that event. Now we have an NAACP meeting that calls itself a Freedom Fund dinner, and nobody knows what the hell they're doing. I don't see them speaking up, speaking out, issuing statements. You know, going back to the days of people like Frank Jordan, we were on the firing line. We had officers, we had aggressive. This NAACP is still in receivership. We don't know what they're doing, and we got people seeking office who have no real interest other than self-aggrandizement. And I'm very concerned about that because it sends the wrong message to people. The people like the Trump supporters that live in this county, that live in other places, who feel that they have a pass now, that they can come against us and nothing will be said because the traditional people who have stood in front of the firing line, they are all gone or they're somewhere on happy hour, missing out what's taking place.
Yeah, and we just recently had was it in L.A. Where they had the NAACP and it was a blip. They couldn't get people to want to even cover it.
Oh, they couldn't, huh?
Yeah.
No, they put up something at the last minute talking about media credentials, but nobody was really interested in it because they weren't doing anything. Okay, and what happens here is they have a dinner, like so many of these black organizations, and they go to people as sponsors and they get money, and they got empty tables, and people will give them a couple of $1,000s because that's going to keep you quiet. And just like we got Thanksgiving coming, I hated that certain pastors in this community would go to grocery stores and people begging for turkeys and eggs and bacon and all of that. And if you're going to be on the begging list, then you aren't in a position to take a stance on anything that you don't agree with that's harmful to the community, because you've already been bought and paid for by a ham and a few dozen of eggs and a turkey. And we still seem to be bent on that, and we need to get out of that mode.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is that we can continue to supply, because I know that there are some pastors that are not begging; they're literally going out and buying.
Yes, they are.
And so we want to make sure that we continue to celebrate those people that say, "Look, I use Mama Bear as an example. For her own personal birthday present, she does something called Dinner and a Song, where she gives out full on dinners for the community. She goes to Porter Elementary School, has allowed her freezer space, and she gives full turkeys, ham, whole fixings. And there's nothing more than to say, this is how I want to celebrate my birthday.
Well, see, that's important because most people don't remember. They're too young. It was a generation ago. Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, okay?
Yes.
And they started feeding people at Thanksgiving time, and they did this for 25 or 30 years, and they did it to such a degree that even the Navy got involved and started cooking the turkeys for them en masse.
Yes.
And when he died, she continued the process, and people would go on Thanksgiving Day and volunteer to feed folks right there in the hood. They didn't have to go down to the Civic Center to Golden Hall to eat. And they did this themselves. They didn't do it through any organization.
Yeah.
And we still have people who give that way because they care. We want to salute them. And speaking of that, we're right now beginning to start taking nominations for our gala this year in terms of positions, a humanitarian award, unsung heroes. People can start, Titania, they can start submitting names, right? Already? Have we put it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we haven't, but we will.
Okay,
be
but
in the
we can
next
get
week.
names, and
Yeah,
I've
you
come
can
up with at
definitely
least,
put
I'm
names in.
surprised, but I found 2 pastors this year that I decided that we're going to put because, I had retired the Good Shepherd Award because most of them weren't doing nothing, just celebrating themselves. So I done found 2 that show some real signs that they're following the word, following the cross, and I'm going to recognize them. You smile,
Well, for
Doctor.
anyone listening, what?
Go ahead.
For
He always
anyone
smiles
listening.
because he knows that I don't mind speaking out about these pastors. They're not my friends.
I smile at them because, we have given out a lot of Good Shepherd Awards
Yeah.
over the years. And
Yeah.
so what we don't do is we don't like to duplicate. And so once you done got a Good
Exactly.
Shepherd Award,
You ain't gonna get a second one.
You don't get a second one. But we have to change it to Heaven Sent Award if you're doing something that good.
No, they ain't that good
And
yet.
those are some nice awards. They're
Yeah.
they're beautiful. They look, I'm sure, wonderful on people's mantles and whatnot. It's very unique. Very unique. You won't find that anywhere.
They're
For
trademarked.
those who want to, yes. So for those who want to, just send us some names, news@sdvoice.info. You can send them there. But we'll have something out online, on social media, on the website, in the paper within the next 7 days or so.
Yeah, and I also want to just encourage everybody to stay tuned for the many things that are going to be happening into 2025 in both of our entities, GOD Radio and the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. We are going to start doing some features that I think a lot of
Yes,
you all
we are.
going to be very interested in, so that there is a broader span of celebration, especially of our up-and-coming leaders, our youth and young adults. And so just stay tuned. We got some really great things coming And Dr. Warren is expanding along with Latanya West, the Western Viewpoint reach even more so. And I want to say that there's some new things coming on the horizon. You're going to be excited
Yes,
about
there
that.
are.
Well, you know what? And one of the things, we have to be careful what we say because we got some people out there trying to counterfeit everything we do. They're trying to copy it
Mhm.
and put their own little crazy brand on it, and we got plans for them too.
Praise the
But
Lord, praise the Lord.
what we gonna do is, we want you to know that the watch party is coming up, and you're welcome to pass through and come and be and sit for a while. And we're going to be sharing national returns as well as local. That's this coming Tuesday from 5 to 10 or 11, okay? And then we want you to know that on the 19th, you can sign up now online at Eventbrite for Biscuit Grits and Politics, our Biscuit Grits and Politics. And be sure it says John Warren's and it's not the counterfeit that's out there.
Okay. The official title is the John E. Warren Biscuits, Grits, and Politics. So you will definitely know what it is. It's a unique logo. And the funny thing about it, I have to say that we do have branding rights to this. And so as we continue to move forward, make sure that you see the brand before you buy. We've had some people that have called and
Yeah.
have been very upset because they bought from the wrong organization because there was things that looked similar. And so we're going to say that you have to look at for the John E. Warren Biscuits, Grits, and Politics. Again, they say the best form of flattery is duplication. And what we're saying is that there's no need to duplicate. Just continue to do what you do, and let's all of us do great work together. And you have your lane, we have our lane. Let's keep
Well,
it.
you're too kind and generous, and y'all can go down that road. I'm going to be more hardcore about it. The theme for this coming meeting is, okay, it's black businesses, public policy, and money. And the whole idea is, if you don't know, come and learn. If you're in business, it'll show you how to make some money. And the other piece is that all of our business grits and politics are being held at the Voice and Viewpoint location at 3619 College. There's a whole big thing in the paper on it. It's online, so there's no excuse to get it mixed up. And we specialize in grits, catfish, biscuits. So don't be misled because you hear somebody mention catfish and grits, and then you get duped. Okay, we are in the community. We are an interactive piece. It's open to everyone, no matter race, color, creed. You can be a part of this. It's not like Black Men United, which has a defined different group. This is everybody that can come, and we're excited about it. And you can't wait till the last minute. We don't do walk-ins, pay at the door. We have to prepare in terms of food and what we expect and who's going to be there. It's only $20. Now, you spend more than that just trying to get a Happy Meal almost. So let's come on and be supportive. We ask for very little in return, and we appreciate it.
With that
And
being
it's a safe
said,
place to just air your opinions, your views, and some healthy dialogue. Can't get any better than that.
That's right,
in
with
the
hot
community.
biscuits and grits. Yes, indeed.
That's right.
well, with that being said, Ms. West, any final statements?
No, just come on through next Tuesday. Voice and Viewpoint, our watch party November 5th. Vote, vote, vote. Pray, pray, pray.
Amen.
That's it.
Dr. Warren, any final words?
No, it's all been said.
With that being said, this is from the Destiny Editor for Dr. John Warren, Miss Latanya West, and yours truly. Y'all have a very, very blessed weekend. Y'all continue to pray for one another and pray for our nation. Y'all be blessed.
He's going to give us